Bryson has been penalised 2 strokes for...
It was past midnight at Royal Birkdale, and nobody in the world of golf knew if Bryson DeChambeau would even show up the next day. Just hours earlier, he had signed for a brilliant 66 and locked himself into the final group of the Open Championship. Then, one conversation with the rules officials changed everything. A 2-stroke penalty, a heated argument in the fading light, and a whispered threat caught on camera: "I'm not playing tomorrow." This is the full story of the most bizarre night in recent Open Championship history. To understand why this night mattered so much, you have to understand where Bryson DeChambeau stood before he ever arrived on the coast of England. The 32-year-old American came to Royal Birkdale carrying the weight of a miserable major championship season. He had missed the cut at the Masters, missed the cut at the Professional Golfers Association Championship, and missed the cut at the United States Open. That left him one bad week away from an embarrassing piece of history. Because Bryson DeChambeau was trying to avoid becoming the first multiple major winner since 1990 to miss the cut in all 4 majors in a single season. The criticism had been loud, and it had come from big names. 3-time Open champion Nick Faldo, the last Englishman to win the Claret Jug back in 1992, insisted before the tournament that Bryson DeChambeau had little chance of winning on the links at Royal Birkdale. His exact words on Sky Sports were blunt. "He has, and I'd say it to his face, 0 clue of strategy," Faldo said. The perception was that Bryson DeChambeau was all power and no patience, a player who tries to overpower golf courses rather than think his way around them. Then Bryson DeChambeau went out and did the exact opposite. He opened the 154th Open Championship with a 3 under 67. On Friday, in difficult afternoon winds that punished the rest of the field, he was even better. Former European Tour winner Andrew Murray, who followed him around the course for BBC Radio 5 Live, praised his patience and his short game, saying he played very linksy golf and had the game to win at Royal Birkdale. Bryson DeChambeau closed his second round with birdies on the 17th and 18th holes and signed for what he believed was a 4 under 66. That put him at 7 under par for the championship, alone in second place, just 1 shot behind the Australian leader, Lucas Herbert, and locked into Saturday's final pairing. The redemption story was writing itself. And then, in the space of about 30 minutes, the entire picture changed. The trouble traced back to the 5th hole, a par 4, played hours earlier in that same second round. Bryson DeChambeau had blown his tee shot well to the right into waist-high native rough beyond the red penalty area. He had a choice. He could take relief, or he could play the ball exactly as it lay in the deep grass. He chose to play it. Television footage showed him arriving at his ball and moving through the long grass behind it before settling into his stance and hitting his second shot. He advanced the ball, ended up long and left of the green, and walked away with a bogey 5. He thought nothing more of it. He played the remaining 13 holes, finished with those 2 closing birdies, and signed his scorecard believing he was 1 shot off the lead. But as he walked off the 18th green at 24 minutes past 8 in the evening, rules officials from the Royal and Ancient, the governing body that runs the Open Championship, were waiting for him. They wanted to talk about the 5th hole. And critically, Bryson DeChambeau had not been told anything during the round itself. The first he heard of a potential penalty was after his card was complete, when the footage from the 5th hole had already been reviewed. At the center of it all was Rule 8.1 of the Rules of Golf, the rule built on one of the oldest principles in the sport: play the course as you find it. In plain language, a player is not allowed to improve the conditions affecting the stroke. That does not just mean the lie of the ball. It also covers the area of the player's intended swing, including the entire backswing, the downswing, and the follow-through. The officials believe that when Bryson DeChambeau moved through that knee-high grass behind his ball, he flattened it down and improved the area of his intended backswing. Grant Moir, the Royal and Ancients Executive Director of Governance and the Chief Referee, later explained the ruling to reporters. Bryson has been penalized 2 strokes for inadvertently improving the area of his intended swing, his backswing, when he was playing his second shot, Moore said. He went on to define exactly what an improvement means under the rule. An improvement means to alter one or more of the conditions affecting the stroke so that the player gains a potential advantage for the stroke, he explained. And then came the part that mattered most for Bryson DeChambeau's case, because the officials fully accepted that he never meant to do anything wrong. I would stress that this applies even when the action is accidental, as it was in Bryson's case, Moore said. Moore also addressed the obvious question: how is a player supposed to get to a ball buried in waist-high fescue without touching anything? The rule does allow a player to fairly take a stance, but there are strict limits. Moore explained that the prohibited action is that the player mustn't move, bend, or break any growing or attached natural object. He added that a player must take the least intrusive course of action to deal with the situation and is not entitled to a normal stance or swing. In the judgment of the Royal and Ancient, Bryson DeChambeau went beyond what was necessary, and that meant a general penalty of 2 strokes regardless of intent. Fans quickly pointed to a comparison from a previous United States Open involving Wyndham Clark, arguing that a similar situation in the past had gone unpunished. And one widely shared post on Reddit stated that the Bryson DeChambeau penalty was valid, and that Wyndham Clark should have lost that United States Open for the same reason. It became one of the biggest talking points of the entire championship. What happened after the round played out almost minute by minute in front of the television cameras, and it is worth walking through the timeline, because it was pure theater. At 24 minutes past 8 in the evening, Bryson DeChambeau birdied the 18th and was met by rules officials as he left the course. At 52 minutes past 8, he was driven by golf cart all the way back out to the 5th hole to discuss what had happened. According to his agent, Brett Falkoff, returning to the scene was actually Bryson DeChambeau's own idea. At 55 minutes past 8, cameras captured an animated, heated discussion near the spot of the incident. His arms were folded, his hands were pointing. Club in hand, he repeatedly demonstrated his movements to the officials, trying to show them exactly how he had played the shot. His frustration was unmistakable, and it was during this exchange that amateur lip readers watching the broadcast believed they saw Bryson DeChambeau tell the officials he was not playing on Saturday. By 35 minutes past 9, the decision was final. The 2-stroke penalty was confirmed. His bogey 5 on the 5th hole officially became a triple bogey 7. His round of 66 became a 68. His total dropped from 7 under par to 5 under par, and he fell from solo 2nd place into a tie for 5th, now 3 shots behind Lucas Herbert. The giant leaderboard at Royal Birkdale was updated in front of everyone, and social media erupted with jokes, outrage, memes, and disbelief. Bryson DeChambeau spent more than 20 minutes inside the recorder's office discussing the matter with officials, including Royal and Ancient Chief Executive Mark Darbin. When he finally emerged, dozens of journalists were waiting. He refused to answer their questions about the penalty, and he refused to say whether he would play the next day. All he offered was this: "Are you guys having a great night? I'm having a great night." Then he told them, "I'm going to go hit some balls," and marched straight to the driving range at around 20 minutes to 10 at night. What followed was one of the strangest scenes seasoned golf reporters could remember at an Open Championship. As darkness fell over Royal Birkdale, Bryson DeChambeau pounded balls into the black sky, humming and whistling as he went, pausing occasionally to check his swing positions on his phone. At one point, he turned to the media watching from the fence line and asked, "What do you guys think of my swing right now?" A little later, he called out again, "Are you guys hungry? I've got snacks. I've got almonds. I've got a beef stick." At 10:28 at night, in complete darkness except for the glow of the scoreboard, he hit his final ball, handed a signed glove to a visibly confused security guard, and declined one last interview request from Golf Channel with a simple, "Nah, I'm good, guys." When Golf Channel reporter Todd Lewis asked directly whether he was going to play tomorrow, Bryson DeChambeau ignored the question and headed for the parking lot. While his player hit balls, Brett Falkoff spoke to reporters, and his frustration was obvious. He relayed the explanation the officials had given. "The only comment I'll make is they said they felt he was not careful walking around a sensitive area around his golf ball," Falkoff said. He then pushed back on the logic of the ruling itself, arguing that the trampled grass was not even in the actual swing path because Bryson DeChambeau's shot went left of the hole, in a totally different direction. He said that apparently in this case the player was not given the benefit of the doubt. Asked directly whether Bryson DeChambeau was still deciding whether to play on Saturday, Falkhoff answered, "We'll see if he shows up late tomorrow afternoon. Your guess is as good as mine." Asked if he would encourage him to play, the agent said the decision belonged entirely to the player. "He's a big boy. He'll see how he feels." "But he certainly feels he was unfairly penalized," Falkhoff said. And then he delivered the line that summed up the entire defense. Bryson is a lot of things. He is not a cheater. So the golf world went to bed with a genuine question hanging in the air. Would a two-time United States Open champion actually withdraw from the Open Championship in protest? His agent had said the decision would be made by Bryson DeChambeau alone, not his team, and that he had right up until his tee time to make it. Golf Channel's Todd Lewis reported that the final call would come in the morning. Then at 2 minutes past midnight local time, Bryson DeChambeau ended the suspense himself. He posted a statement on his social media account that provided the final word on the controversy, obviously disappointed with the ruling. "I don't agree with it, but it is what it is. This fires me up." On to the weekend. Let's get it. Within hours, the post had been viewed more than 2.1 million times. He also posted to Instagram with a simpler caption. The withdrawal threat, whether it was genuine anger in the heat of the moment or part of the theater he clearly seemed to be enjoying on that darkened driving range, was over. Bryson DeChambeau was playing. That still left the debate raging over whether the penalty was fair, and the sport's biggest voices lined up on both sides. On Golf Channel, Paul McGinley came down firmly on the side of the officials. "For me, it's a clear breach," McGinley stated. His colleague Brandel Chambly went even further, saying there were multiple infractions and that Bryson DeChambeau just danced all over it, adding that he did everything but lay down behind the ball or take a weed whacker to the tall grass behind it. DP World Tour Rules official Graham Storm, working for the BBC, backed the ruling as well, explaining that if you improve your line of play, you are improving your lie, and you get the general penalty of 2 shots whether it is intentional or not. Those defending the ruling pointed out that Rule 8.1 is black and white on the question of intent, and that the rule exists to protect the integrity of the entire field. The sympathetic view was just as strong. Brett Falkhoff's argument that the flattened grass was not anywhere near the actual swing path because the shot traveled in a different direction resonated with many fans. Others asked the practical question at the heart of the case: how exactly is a player supposed to reach a golf ball sitting in waist-high fescue without disturbing a single blade of it? And there was discomfort with the process itself, because the ruling came hours after the fact based on television footage with no benefit of the doubt given to the player. The inconsistency argument gained even more fuel from something else that happened that very same day, because Jon Rahm threw his club in frustration after a pulled tee shot on the par 3 15th and escaped with only a warning. The former world number 1 who carded a 67 admitted afterward, "I shouldn't have reacted that way, but I did." He added, "I get it. I had a moment. One player trampled grass by accident and lost 2 strokes. Another threw a club in anger and lost nothing. That contrast became a major talking point of its own." All of it set up a fascinating weekend at Royal Birkdale. At the top of the leaderboard sat Lucas Herbert at 8 under par after a record-equaling round of 62. One shot further back, at 6 under par, were Jackson Suber, Cameron Young, and Ryan Gerard. And at 5 under par sat Bryson DeChambeau, tied for 5th alongside Sam Burns and Siwoo Kim. The penalty carried one more painful consequence, because the spot in Saturday's final group alongside Lucas Herbert, the spot Bryson DeChambeau had earned with his birdie finish, now belonged to Jackson Suber instead. Bryson DeChambeau would instead tee off a couple of groups earlier at 3:30 in the afternoon local time alongside Sam Burns. But if the Royal and Ancient thought the penalty would deflate him, his own words suggested the opposite. "This fires me up," he had written. And the man chasing the leaders was not the Bryson DeChambeau who missed 3 straight major cuts. It was the one Andrew Murray watched carve his way around Royal Birkdale with patience, precision, and a short game sharp enough to win. 3 shots back, with 2 rounds to play, carrying a grievance and a point to prove. Bryson DeChambeau headed into the weekend of the 154th Open Championship as the most dangerous man on the property.